Hey, what's up? It's Bon. Let's talk about Mass Effect. Today, I want to talk about the development of the game, where we're at, both things that we know for a fact and things that I think we can do some educated speculation on. And I also want to talk a bit about where I'm at now with when I think we could see more about this game, this next Mass Effect, as well as when I think it may actually come out. Before that, if you like Mass Effect, if you like games in general, please subscribe to this channel. I do a whole bunch of Mass Effect stuff. I have 50 plus Mass Effect videos. I'm putting out new ones every week. I stream and stuff like that as well if you want to check out my Twitter, my Twitch, and all that. But please subscribe to this channel. Like this video, comment down below with what you think about what we talk about today, and yeah, we'll go from there. Okay, so I'll show you a few things here. So we have a few things that we know. So one thing I think that is interesting is I've been following the hiring and the job listings and so on for BioWare over the last year and a half or so. I used to be a big into creating for the Division franchise, and while the Division 2 was being created, I did the same thing and was able to glean a lot of info. And what I can glean from this is that BioWare is not hiring. So there is this weird listing here that basically says senior producer. But when you click on it, it takes you to this page. And I won't go through the whole thing, but it's weird because this listing appears to be some type of placeholder listing because it mentions Anthem. So I don't think this is like them accidentally revealing that Anthem 2 is being developed. In fact, I think it's just they may just be generally hiring this position and just posted an old listing for it. Because if you go to their LinkedIn, you can scroll down here and you see the same listing for the senior producer for their 4 different locations. So I'm not super worried about, again, this mentions the Anthem on here as well. So, the reason this matters is because about a year ago, they had like around 10 listings, and 6 or 7 of them were just for Mass Effect. And they were big positions. They were, they were director positions. They were positions like, narrative director, environmental director, all of those. And at least as we can tell from that job listing, they've all been filled, either internally or externally. We also had a little bit of insight on this as well during the N7 day in 2022. So if I take you back to here, we have our N7 day blog. This obviously gave us a bunch of cool info. It was them talking about how they're in early development and they're still doing pre-production and such. Down here we saw Mike Gamble. If you guys are paying attention to the development of this next game, you're obviously gonna know who he is, being the project director. But some news that we did get here that kind of got passed over was that Danielle Enns is the senior development director. Before N7 day, literally the day before, the only listing left on BioWare's hiring website was the development director for this game. So what that gives us is that they have all of their director position jobs filled. So we know that Mary DeMarley is their narrative director, and Parrish Lay is back from the trilogy working on this game, on this series again, which is very exciting. If I remember correctly, Parrish Lay was the cinematic director during Mass Effect 3. So them having all of their director positions filled is a big deal, because what you need to understand about how game development works, at least to my understanding, if someone wants to educate me in the comments if I'm wrong, please do so. But what they're doing right now is they are basically building a scaffold. They probably have a fairly small team right now. It's these directors, and plus there's probably some producers and stuff like that. And they are building a scaffolding so that when Dreadwolf is finished and they can shift over all of those environmental producers, all the people, all those developers who are going to be making the models, making the levels, making actually making all the stuff. They have this scaffolding where they know exactly what they have to make. When you start bringing over the Dreadwolf, the people who are currently working on Dreadwolf, when you bring over those people who are going to actually be making the meat of the game, they aren't necessarily coming in and making creative decisions. All of that stuff is happening now. Mike Gamble, Danielle Enns, Mary DeMarley, Parrish Lay, and lots of other people. And so it's important that they have all those people at the top, because they're going to have everything ready, in theory, when Dreadwolf finishes up, and then they can shift those workers over to this BioWare team to do Mass Effect. This is why people think that this game is like 4 or 5 years away. Some people think that it probably isn't. It's probably closer than that, because once they shift everyone over, they can get the game done relatively quickly. If, this is a big if, they have the scaffolding constructed correctly. When you see games have major issues, you saw this especially with Anthem, but Andromeda as well, and lots of other games that have come out and not gone very well. If a game comes out bad or it feels rushed, it was probably because pre-development and pre-production didn't go very well, and the people in these positions, or maybe they didn't have everyone in these positions. The simple fact that they've been sitting here probably doing pre-production on this Mass Effect game for 2 or 3 years anyways, and now they're probably in the thick of it, really getting down to it, because they can probably expect to get the Dreadwolf, those developers switched over, I would say, by the end of this year, and then they'll really be working on the next Mass Effect. The scaffolding part is so important. And so I think if you're going to take anything from this video, it's that so far there's no reason to believe that there's any trouble, which is really good, because there's plenty of games that even at this stage you can see games are in trouble. People are leaving the project, they're joining, they're having to scramble. As far as we know, for the most part, it seems like the leadership of this Mass Effect team is stable. It's been here for a little while, and it's made up of people who know what they're doing. I mean, Mary DeMarley is the new kid on the block, but she's also one of the better game writers ever. And so, if you want some, security, I guess that is where I would find mine. We also are getting some small things like this tweet here. This is kind of a twofold thing. We had the BioWare account say, does anyone have big travel plans this year? Travel Tuesday, Mass Effect, hashtags. And then so I'm going to be totally honest, I thought this was a new asset and I got really excited. It's actually just a loading screen for Mass Effect 3. My bad. But then later that night, after this was posted, Mike Gamble, who I just showed you, and who has been quite the provocateur of all of the creators like myself, said if they only knew where we were going. The shoutcaster here said, oh my God, you're such a tease. And Mike Gamble said, I know, right, back to him. This by itself isn't big crazy news. That tweet by itself, that quote tweet, probably means basically nothing. But what it does mean is that they're confident enough to keep teasing. Mike Gamble's had a bunch of tweets where he's been like, I really wish you guys could see what we just did and showed in this big team meeting today. This stuff is so... He's been leaving just enough breadcrumbs to keep people, especially like myself, going. But it's not all just marketing. It is, again, I think, a sign that things must be going smoothly. Things are going good. Because if they weren't, I don't think they'd be saying anything. But that's mostly pure speculation. Another big factor that is going to play into when this game comes out and how this production is going is the fact that we are fairly certain they are moving to Unreal Engine 5. We know that a few of those director positions that were open and are now filled, as well as some of the other openings on their career page, specifically mentioned Unreal Engine 4 and 5 experience. I don't think it's that surprising that they would do this. The only reason it is because they're making Dreadwolf on Frostbite, and using Unreal Engine 5 is going to cost EA a lot of money with this, because all of the licensing and all of the access they're going to have to pay for to the root systems of the engine are going to be pretty extensive. And that also tells me that they are pretty dedicated to making sure this next Mass Effect gets back to the roots in some capacity, because they're willing to take a big hit on the profit margin to work with Unreal. And I'm excited about that. I think that's a good thing. A lot of the tech we're seeing come from Unreal Engine 5, whether it's the MetaHuman or the Lumen and stuff like that, all of those things are not only cool from the user perspective, but they're also cool from a developer perspective, because they have tech in the Unreal Engine that you can literally feed audio into a character and it will automatically model the animations for the face and the lips and stuff like that. Now, it's probably not going to be perfect. They probably have to fine tune it, but it's the little things like that, like things like the MetaHuman system and the Lumen system and stuff like that, which are in theory going to make things happen a lot more efficiently and a lot faster. There's going to be systems that they don't have to make from scratch like they did with Frostbite, and they would probably have to do if they used it again. And so I know, when we start talking about like when is this game going to come out and stuff like that, I've seen people say that they don't think it's going to come out till 2026, 2027. I think late 2024, early 2025 for the next Mass Effect game is very realistic. I stand by it pretty hard. And this also comes from me touching base with, I know some director level people in other AAA studios, and I've even kind of thrown all of this stuff in front of them and been like, hey, like, what do you think? Like, when do you think this game could come out? And they actually were even more positive than me to say like mid to late 2024. I think they're gonna need at least 2 years of full production on this game, even if the scaffolding's perfect. But we'll have to wait and see. We don't know what the scale of this game is going to be. We don't know how big this is going to be. We don't know if it's going to be iterative, where they're going to release 20, 30 hours of the story and then release big DLCs to expand it. We have no idea. And so all of that stuff is going to be very important and very impactful on when we see this game come. More than anything, I think myself, much like everyone else, just wants to see a good game. We're all gonna bicker over, who the protagonist is and which galaxy the game takes place in and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, they could pick the protagonist I don't want, or they could pick the galaxy that you don't want. And I think as long as they make a game that they're passionate about and that's good, that's fun and seems true to the franchise and to our nostalgia, I think even if they make choices that some people don't like, everyone will come around if it's a good game. And the way that they make a game like that is by taking their time, making what they are passionate about, and making what they think would be best, and to not worry too much about what the very small but very vocal minority of fans on social media and stuff are chirping about. So again, I think late 2024, early 2025 is still where I'm sticking, unless we see something different. I think we'll see the marketing campaign for this probably ramp up towards the end of 2023 and early 2024. I think they're going to kind of pave the way for Dreadwolf a little bit and let them do their thing. I do think that we will get some kind of Mass Effect news, at least by E3 time though, and around June of 2023. I think we'll get something. I really think Dreadwolf will be the focus by that point, but I still, even right now, I've joked with a few people that I think we know more about the next Mass Effect than we do Dreadwolf, and Dreadwolf is probably coming this year, and Mass Effect probably isn't coming for at least 2 years. So I don't know. We'll see. It's fun to talk about. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Like I said before, if you like Mass Effect, you want more videos, you want to just chat with someone who's also excited, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video so that other people can see it. And then you can find me on social media, basically as Bond Diesel everywhere, on Twitter, on Twitch, on Instagram. You can also check out my weekly podcast called The Echo Cast, which is on all podcast providers and this YouTube channel. It's a weekly news podcast, and I also do some cool interviews with people like N7 Legend, with Mark Dara, and I will have some other really cool ones coming up soon as well. That is all I have, so until next time.